All right, welcome back. We are in our final hour. It's been a long time that we've gotten into this. I don't know about you. It probably seems slower for you, but for me, this has been going by at the speed of sound. Like, it's hard to believe we started at 1 o'clock. We're already at 4 o'clock. We're going into the last one. I know many of you have probably taken off for a little dip outside. That is why we designed this launch to be this way, so that in between you can go out, have a break. We know that some of you may have actually taken off for the whole afternoon. So we totally get that. We understand what's going on. We just have been having a blast. We just want to have some fun with our friends. We know lots of you are supporters, and we really appreciate everything you do. So we're going to be doing another big draw. The big draw is going to come at the end of this hour, or close to the 5 o'clock. Just to let you know some of the winners we've had so far. We've had people like Chris Harris. Now, Chris has his own show. He's known as Safety Dog, and he's got his own show called the Doggone It Trucking Podcast. We've known each other for years through many of the different markets that we're in. And so we are have been friends for a long time, and so he came out to support us in the launch, and he won a double book pack. So he won You're Not Done Yet, which is the one we're launching today, but he also won another one called Driven to Drive, which is one on the trucking industry, my career in the trucking industry, which has been out for a few years. So congratulations on that win there, Chris. Way to go. And that was our first hour. That first hour, we were just kind of launching things. We were talking about what the book is all about. We've had people like Paul Copcutt on. Carmen was on doing an interview. In our second hour, we were talking about, is it okay to don't believe what they tell you? You know, when someone sees someone young and they say, hey, you know what, go do something else. And they don't give a person a chance to shine. So we talked about people like Marina. We talked about people like the guys over at OVT Guitars, who in their high school days are already passionate about moving forward in a career and know exactly what they want to do. And then we talked about people like Jeffrey Wayne Ford, who is also an actor. He's a truck driver, but he's also an actor. And he's been on here, and he's because of his love of acting, and he still does it within his job, and he's been doing some great things. So that was in number 2. In hour 3, at 3 o'clock, we came back. We were talking about people like Kelly Gannon, who's been an inspiration for this show and really good at just giving back to everybody. We talked about Rich Redmond. We actually played an interview with Rich Redmond, who Rich is the drummer for Jason Aldean. And we talked about him. And so the second prize that we gave away was won by Monique Bourgeois. Now, Monique is a writer herself, and she won a $25 gift certificate. She won a digital copy of You're Not Done Yet, and she won a digital copy of Rich's book, which is called Crash Course to Success. And I've read that book, and it's an amazing book, and Rich is a really amazing guy. So we talked about how I got started in the speaking business, and now we are here at 4 o'clock. We are at the 4 o'clock mark, and looking forward to kind of finishing out this hour. I don't know if we're going to go the whole hour. We'll see how we end up here, but we're going to do the raffle a little bit into the hour here and give people a chance to come back in and get started. We've just gotten started here at 4 o'clock live again. So this is our third live. Really excited about what's going on. So this hour, first of all, we're going to be giving away the Kindle e-reader. And if you're not a Kindle fan, maybe you have an iPad or a tablet of some kind, and you're thinking, why do I need a Kindle reader? Well, first of all, you don't need a Kindle reader. But if you're somebody who likes to read outside, Kindle is really good for one of those because it blocks out the light somehow. And I don't know, Carmen's got one, I don't have one. But you're able to read outside, which is why you see a lot of people on the beach and stuff reading. Hey, Carlene, thanks for being on again. So that is what a Kindle reader does. It allows you to read outside. So you have a beautiful day like this, you can read outside. So that's the one of the benefits of a Kindle reader. One, you got access to all kinds of books. And like I say, today is kind of the Amazon launch because in about probably about around the beginning of July. We probably won't do it on a weekend because by then everybody should be out. But I do plan on having the book available on Apple. That's a whole nother process. So the book will work on any tablet that you have now. But if you wanted to buy it in the Apple bookstore, it's not available yet. So we've got to do another step to get to that. I also am planning on releasing this as an Audible book in the near future. So that will be it. So let's talk about, what are we going to talk about at the 4 o'clock mark? So first of all, we are going to talk about some of the things that have happened as far as what is a real job? People are always asking me, this is one of the chapters in the book I talk about, what the heck is a real job? For me, my first real job was flipping burgers at A&W. So if you listen to the interview with Carmen, that was my very first job, was flipping burgers. Outside of the ones Mom and Dad paying me for cutting the lawn, A&W was the first one. After that, I went into gas stations. I was working in gas stations through my teenage years, and because I had a car, and that's a good way to do it too. But a lot of people think that if you're an artist, you're not doing a real job, or if you're a musician, you're not really doing a career. They all seem that we're playing at it, and to me that drives me absolutely bonkers. And so in the book I talk about a lot of people that are artists, very successful, doing this full time and very successful at it. And a lot of them are cartoonists, but some of them are fine artists, and one of them is a guy named Tom Richmond. Now you may not know Tom Richmond's name. If you're a caricature artist, you will know Tom's name. But if you're not a caricature artist, you may not know that name. But Tom Richmond works for Mad Magazine, or at least did, before they've just done a switch this year. But he's basically a caricature artist, but he does, if you know Alfred from Mad Magazine, he draws that. So he's been an illustrator there for a number of years. He started at a magazine called Cracked, which was very similar to Mad. And I've been a big... he's been a big inspiration, not only in my art, but in what I do. And I met Tom at ISCA, which is an International Society of Caricature Artists. And I met him, he was coming out of the washroom. I was going into the washroom, and that's where we met him in the hall. And over the years, have had the pleasure of talking with him, knowing him, being able to have a beer with him. And last year, he came to Toronto, and he was doing a workshop. And I had the pleasure of attending the workshop. And as soon as he signed it, you know, it was a 2-day workshop. I'm thinking, should I go to the workshop? What should I do? And then I thought, it's Tom Richmond. Now, Tom lives in Minnesota. And, well, I'm just going to share this interview with Tom Richmond I did while he was here in Toronto, because it is a really great interview. So let's see this. I'm not going to say it's the best episode I've ever had, but this is going to be one of the most special episodes I ever had. If you're listening to this on the podcast, this is episode number 88. If you don't know who I am yet, I am Bruce Outridge, and this is the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. And today we are going to talk to Tom Richmond. Now, let me tell you about how this works. If you don't know who Tom Richmond is, if you're not in the caricature illustration world, you may not know who Tom Richmond is, but you will after this. First of all, if you want to find him, just go to his website, tomrichmond.com. But anyway, Tom is an illustrator for Mad Magazine. And in fact, he's more than an illustrator. He is also a caricature artist. He's owned caricature stands, these ones you see at the theme parks. He used to have 7 of them. He's down to 2. He's from Minnesota, and he is one of my heroes. His illustration style is the style that I try to get to a lot, and his heroes are people like Mort Drucker and Jack Davis and so forth, and they're my heroes too. So it's nice to see, you know, it's nice to meet your heroes as you go. So the reason we got into this interview is Tom came to Toronto. He doesn't come to Toronto very often. In fact, he's only been here 2 or 3 times. But he came to Toronto to do a workshop for us on how to do better caricatures and how to improve your drawing. And this is not a beginner's workshop. He brands it that way, but it is not a beginner's workshop, my friend. In fact, all the artists that were in that workshop were pretty accomplished. So it was a pretty good workshop. So he came to Toronto, signed up right away, cleared the weekend. It was a 3-day workshop. And one of the caveats is I said, Tom, would you be willing to do an interview with me? And his style, he said yes. He's a very humble person, and it's really nice to see. So stay tuned. We're going to come back, and we are going to talk to the incredibly talented, mad Tom Richmond. All right, so we are in Toronto at the Tom Richmond Workshop. How are we doing today, Tom?
Great, terrific.
Great. So this is, I'm pumped here. I've been pumped for 3 days. I've been exhausted every night. You're working us to the bone. So you've been going around doing this. I've seen you going to Europe and throughout the States. what's the workshop series? What are you doing this year?
Well, this is my big year of doing them, actually. I'm doing one a month all over the world. I'm going to be in Switzerland and London in August, and coast to coast, Phoenix, and I did some LA ones in New York and here in Canada. So it's been a whirlwind tour, but it's really fun. I love doing them.
Yeah, so I mean, people just sign up, and the nice thing about this is they're small workshops, so we actually get some time to talk with you and that kind of thing. How did you get to that point? I'm going to talk a little bit about your career, but I'm interested. My whole podcast is for creative entrepreneurs, so those artists. And when I wanted to be a cartoonist, nobody said, "Here's how Charles Schultz did it." They just said, "Go get a real job." So I'm interested because I think we're close in the same age. What was your family supportive when you started this program, or?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky. You know, you hear a lot of horror stories about dad saying, "Get a real job," and "Why aren't you a lawyer?"
That's
something like that. But my parents were nothing but supportive. They, the minute I started loving to do art, they would go out and get me art supplies, and we didn't have like a lot of dough when I was growing up. So my dad built a drawing table out of an old door that he angled downstairs in the basement for me, and I would have these buckets full of broken crayons, and they'd get paper from wherever they could get paper from. So they were always very, very supportive. So I was lucky that way.
And did you go through a whole typical art school process where you went to art school for 4 years and all that kind of stuff?
I did go to school. I went to a very small art school in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is actually no longer active. But it was a fully accredited 4-year college, but it was in an old mansion. And my graduating class was like 27 people.
Oh, wow.
So it was very small. And the great thing about it was that all the professors that taught there were not professional teachers. They were like working artists, just teaching in their field. So I learned a lot of real-world stuff, how to make a living at art. The sad thing about it was no cartooning at all at school. Nothing but straight illustration, graphic design, and that sort of thing. So in a way that helped me because it forced me to learn to draw realistically, and I think that translated into my cartoon work. But on the other hand, I would have loved to have had somebody teach me how to ink, when I was 18, 19 years old.
Yeah. Okay, so going from there, and that's, like you say, a power, but how did you get into caricatures and cartoons? Because when I started this, I was actually doing pen and ink landscapes. I wasn't even doing cartoons and caricatures. Now that's what I do. So how did you get into that?
Well, it was a summer job, actually. Okay. I got a summer job doing caricatures at Six Flags theme park in Minnesota, or in Chicago, while I was going to college after my freshman year. And I did it every summer, and I just fell in love with the art of caricature, at that park. Worked with a lot of really talented artists, and found my niche, that just was something that resonated with me.
Okay, and you're one of my inspirations, and it's funny how you follow that line. I mean, if you go to mine, it's Norman Rockwell, and then there's Jack Davis, more Drucker, yourself. So it depends where you are in line. And unfortunately, one of yours was Nick Meglin, who just passed away. Unfortunately, found out. So I was reading. I'm going to encourage people to go to your blog and read the story because it's quite inspiring. But tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Well,
about Nick, not about how that's going.
Nick was really instrumental in getting me into MAD, and he was very supportive of me the whole time I'd been there. But he was just a very wonderful, unique guy, and not many people really realize how important he was to MAD magazine. He started in the mid-'50s there, and a lot of what makes MAD, the voice, the sensibility, the humor, was Nick. I mean, it was him. And when you met him and got to know him, you'd realize, oh my God, this guy really is MAD magazine. So his sudden passing was really a huge loss.
Yeah, I was reading the blog post this morning you put out that, and one of the things really resonated with me is that he told you to stop being Mort Drucker, whoever you, and that's for me. Maybe I got to stop being Tom Richmond. Not that I am being, but is that something that you found was really a change for you to kind of just do your own style?
Yeah, and I never consciously tried to copy Mort, but it's impossible if you're trying to do that kind of work. I mean, he basically invented it. So I was at the time I was working for Cracked, doing parodies of TV shows and movies, and I was, I had all my mads spread out when I would work on a Cracked piece, and I'd be like, how does Mort lay out a page, and how does he position his figures, and that type of thing. And invariably, his conventions, with the squiggly lines and some of the things that he would do would kind of creep into what I was doing. Right. And Nick took me aside. I went to Mad to show them my latest piece, and he took me out to lunch, he and Sam Viviano, and they don't do that, And he said, "Look, I wouldn't take a Mort Drucker clone out to lunch. Right. I think you're in there. You just need to let yourself out and stop trying to be Mort and start trying to be you." Right. And so I went home and I put all my mads away. And I stopped looking at them, and I started just, working without a net, as I would say, and just tried to do it on my own with just my own sensibilities. And within a couple of jobs, the Mort influence started to fade, and my natural sort of stuff came into play, and they responded, and they gave me some jobs, and now I've been working for them for a long time.
The rest is history. All right, so that was a great. This is Tom's book here. I'll try it. It's called The Mad Art of Caricature, and it is an amazing book. I have two of them. I'm not sure if this is the signed one. The other one is the signed one through him. So he's a great guy, very talented, and again, somebody who is very successful. He's been doing this. He owns multiple caricature stands. He's an author. He's got many books out. He does the Comic-Cons. He does freelance illustration. So very, 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 very successful. So another one I want to talk about is Joe Bloom. And Joe Bloom's got a book out, or at least it used to be out. I'm not sure if I can find it. It's called Rejects. And the cool thing about Joe Bloom is I've known him through ISCA as well, so he's another caricature artist. He's out of Louisiana, and again, he's an animator. He just recently finished a book that was written by Zach Hine of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Joe was the illustrator for that book, and he is an amazing guy. And again, we talked about it a lot, that you can be successful as an artist. You have to think a little differently. Most artists think about their art. They don't think about, what's going on as far as the business part. They think about the art, and that's why these guys are so successful. Tom is very business oriented. Joe is very business oriented, and I'm going to play an interview here with Joe. I had him on the podcast. If you want to listen to the full.
That's when I started doing illustration for a living, is when I was in Florida. I got the cover to a local paper, the Orlando Weekly.
Yeah.
And so I got to know the art director there, and he was paying pennies, of course, but I was so excited. I'm like, look, I'm a working editorial illustrator.
I'll take pennies. Yeah.
And at that point, because of the caricature organization, which is called ISCA, ISCA now, which I know you talk about, but the organization got me in touch with so many other illustrators and artists from the convention. So I had met Steve Brodner and I had met Daniel Adell, and these guys were so awesome and kept in touch with me. So I would feel like, okay, I'm starting to get in this community. I'm starting to feel like I'm a real editorial illustrator. And then right about when I started doing it full time and started pulling away from caricature, I moved to New York and got entrenched in that and animation there.
Did you find the New York market? I'm always interested because everybody says, hey, if you're going to be an illustrator, go to New York. I'm not going to New York because I kind of like Canada. Did you find that really changed? Is it all what they say? They say if you are not planning on being an illustrator, you got to be in New York. Is that true? Because you're in Shreveport and I'm in Toronto.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's a different time right now, but there is still an advantage to being in a city that's a hub for something. I know that the Society of Illustrators has sort of a location there, a club, and they have a little restaurant and they have figure drawing. And I had a friend who was running the figure drawing classes. So I would go down there once a week or every other week on a Thursday and draw live models. Right. And of course, if it's the Society of Illustrators and it's when everyone else showing up, everyone else shows up. So I met Carter Goodrich and Peter DeSev. and people like that, they're sitting there at the bar having a glass of wine. So I'll come over and get a glass of wine between drawing, and like, I know you designed Scrat on Ice Age, and you're one of my favorite illustrators, and you. So there's a networking opportunity that big cities give you, but I don't think it's just that's exclusive to New York. I think that's anywhere.
Right.
And functionally, from a career standpoint, I know it used to be more like this. Like my friend Fred Harper lives there and does a lot of work. Knowing that you could walk down the street and see the editor and the art director, knowing that you can get a cup of coffee with someone that is maybe hiring you next week, that does make a difference. Like local is always local.
Yeah.
And so the fact that all these big editorial offices like Time Magazine and Rolling Stone have all their offices right there in that one area of Manhattan, that offers an opportunity for locals to be a little bit ahead. And I know 10 years ago or so when I was there were some illustrators. Some of them are alive today and some of them are not, but they were making a living in Manhattan, doing just caricature illustration. And I think it was largely because they were right there.
Yeah.
But now the internet, like you said, you're in Toronto. I'm in Louisiana. I'm in nowhere, Louisiana. I'm directing a small PSA for a Canadian animation studio right now.
Okay.
I am doing character design for an American animation film that's being produced or made in France.
Yeah.
I'm doing 2 picture books.
Okay.
I'm working for a local company doing a marketing campaign with my wife. Wow. So the internet made it awesome. The Age of Communication made it so where you can work anywhere. And I had a director and a studio head in Los Angeles a couple years ago ask me, all right, this is adorable. You're in Louisiana and you're having fun, but why don't you come out here and play with the big boys? And I kind of chuckled and he said, what? And I said, you called me.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're about to work together. So let's do this for a bit and see how it goes. Cause I love freedom. I love the ability to be wherever you want. And that's what the internet's given us.
So that's a great interview with Joe. Joe is an amazing guy that so those are 2. I know so many musicians that are doing this full time. I know so many authors that are doing this full time. It depends where you are, but you got to start somewhere. So those are just a couple examples of people who are artists who are doing this full time and being successful. So if anyone tells you can't do it, they're wrong. So let's just talk about how to inspire people. And I want to say a big shout out to Monique and Carlene. You guys have both been on. Thank you so much for being on. Again, I know this is a nice afternoon. So now I want to talk about inspiring other people, because this is one of the things, this is what the whole book is meant to do, and this is what one of the things they would do. So first of all, I remember the first time that I was going to go inspire, well, not the first time, but if you know, I have a show in Halton here called Inspiring Youth, and it's a television show where I showcase ambitious youth and the community partners and work with them, and people like Carlene have been on the show a couple times, and it's to show people that if you want to do something, here's someone else who's done it. So I remember how I started this show. It was at a Men and Career Coaches event, which is an event put on by HIAC, Halton Industry Education Council. They put this on for high school students. They have one for men, they have one for women, and what you do is it's an evening. You go and you sit around in tables. There's about 400 to 700 people, depending. So it's at a convention center. You sit in groups of 10. Half of them are students. Half of them are people like ourselves, what we would be called the career coaches. And we just talk to them about what we do and what our careers are. They have a number of keynote speakers throughout the event. And I remember the first year that I went, I actually found out about it from the high school. So my daughter was looking to upgrade her skills. And I said, why don't you go back to Gary Allen? That's where I went. That's a school here in Halton. And I said, that's where I went back when I was 40 to get my grade 12. So I said, why don't you go there? They got lots of flexible programs and you can do all that kind of stuff. And so we went back there. The staff, who I used to sell t-shirts to, if you remember prior videos, said, Bruce, you have a great story. It'd be great for you to be a keynote speaker. So I didn't even know about the event. I'd never heard about it before. The lady, they put me in touch with it. I got contact with them and they said, yeah, we want you as a keynote. So when I went in, right before the event started, about a week before, they were still looking for people to be coaches. And I suggested a friend of mine, Dave, I said, why don't you be a coach? He was in sports. He scouted young people for hockey and basketball. And so I said, why don't you come be a part of it? So he came to the event. I walked through the door. Dave's standing there. When I come through, Dave says, hey, Bruce, I want you to meet my friend Stu. So Stuart is Stuart Aker. So I didn't know Stu before, but Stu ended up sitting at my table that evening. And while we're sitting at the table, we're chatting and he's learning what I do. I do my keynote speech, come back, and Stu said to me, would you like to have a television show? And I'm going, Stu, come on, with a face like this, it's radio. So he said, no, if you change your mind, let me know. So as I said, I'm never one to pass up an opportunity if possible. And so I actually called him the next day and I said, yeah, I'd like to learn more about this. So we met. And I remember having it all worked out, right? Because I thought a television show, you have to know, how you're going to get people in. They're going to have to know guests. They're going to have to know ratings. They're going to have to know how they're going to make money. Well, that's what I thought anyway. So I went in with all of that. I actually put a proposal together and I went in and I met with Stu. And this is Stu right here. And so I went with Stu, met with Stu, and I said, Stu, I would like to do a television show. And when I met with Stu, I had it all laid out, and he said, what do you want to call the show? And I said, well, we went to this event. I was going to inspire the youth of today, but they inspired me more. I felt more uplifted when I left there. And I said, I'd like to call the show Inspiring Youth. And I figure it works both ways. Either I'm inspiring them or they're inspiring me. Either way, we're good. He said, that's perfect, didn't want to change title or anything. And then I said, here's the guests I can get. Here's how I think we can make money. Here's how we get. He says, we don't need to do any of that. He says, we're a community television. All we need is the content. So I said, perfect. So I said, how do we start? So he lined me up with James Spalding, and Carlene was on one of those episodes where we actually went and filmed in Carlene's studio. So check out the first season of Inspiring Youth. But we basically, it doesn't matter what the youth are doing. It doesn't matter what career they're in. If they are ambitious and want to come on, then we have them on the show. And then we have the community partners that they work with. So let's say they want to be an artist. The community partner might be somebody like the Oakville Arts Council or Oakville Arts Society or somebody like that that can help them get that start and take them to the next level. And so that's how we had the show. And I remember that the person that was at the Men and Career Coaches event was David Vandenberg. Now, David, I was super impressed with. He was 19 years old at the time. He's been on Inspiring Youth a number of times. In fact, he won the award for season 1 as the young person that inspired us the most. And so he's been on, and he was my very first guest, and he was a winner on, so he's on my last show again. And he is just such an amazing guy. And I want to just play for you a little bit of the interview from David Vandenberg. Hey, welcome to Inspiring Youth. My name's Bruce Outridge. I'm going to be your host for this show. And we have a show that is going to showcase youth in the community in the Halton area. And we've got some ambitious people on this show. It's going to be really good. Just to give you a little bit about me, I've been in the transportation industry for 25 years. I drove transport truck. I started when I was 17 years old in that industry. Since then, I've also got an art business. I have a couple podcasts out. I do a lot of video, a lot of speaking, and so excited to help youth because I know when I was younger, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know some of the career options, and I wish there was a show out there like that to help me along. So that's the whole idea of the show today. And the best part is I have one of the most ambitious youth with me. I have David Vandenberg with me, and David is going to be my co-host for this episode. You will also see him on a couple other episodes down the road. But David is a summer intern with MSHE Developments Incorporated. He's studying political science at McMaster University. He's a passionate volunteer with the Compassion Society, the Burlington Teen Tour Band, among others. And he is well-versed, well-spoken, and well-liked. And I added that myself because it's great. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great.
You and I met at an event for Halton Industry Education Council.
Right.
Everybody says HIAC, which is the short form. And they will also be on a later episode of the show.
Yeah.
But it's funny how this connection has worked. You were the MC, right?
Yeah. HIAC, the Halton Industry Education Council, is just a fantastic group. They really streamline all the education for younger people in Burlington. And I remember going there when I was actually in grade 7 or 8 for career planning.
Okay.
Look where we are now.
Yeah, they planned your career all right.
So this event was great, and Bruce was a speaker at this event called Men as Career Coaches, and I was actually the MC. So we chatted and got to know each other afterwards.
We hit it off pretty well right off the bat.
Of course,
yes.
Of course we did. And that just streamlined into many other things.
Yeah. Let's take a look at you in action here. I think we got a clip from the Hayek event. Let's take a look at you in the action.
Fantastic. All right, anybody else want to take a crack?
That was great. You did a great job there.
Thanks,
you know, it's funny how these connections worked and how that Hayek. I got asked to be a keynote speaker through one of the schools in the area, Gary Allen High School, which is where I actually graduated from, if you will. I went back there when I was 40 years old, back, and I was taking my daughter there to upgrade her computer skills. And the counselor there said, you'd be good at this Hayek event. I didn't even know what Hayek was. And they said, you'd be good at the Hayek event. And so she made a call. Yeah. I had a girl named Michelle Murray from Hayek call me, said, would you like to be, speaking? And I said, yes. And then they were looking for more mentors. And so a friend of mine, Dave Rutherford, I said, you'd be good at this. He's a sports coach.
Okay.
He got invited to the event. When I walked in, he was talking to Stuart Aker, who's Stuart is the producer for Coach Code here, and introduced me to Stuart. It turned out Stuart ended up sitting at my table for the event and saw me speak and said, you'd be good to have a television show. And I said, are you crazy? In a face like this, like I'm certainly a man for radio. Anyway, we went and... So that was a little bit of the interview with David. You can check out the show if you go to my website, bruceoutridge.com, look under Inspiring Youth, and you can look for Season 1, and that was the one from Season 1. So those are just some of the people that we're inspiring here. Hayek is a great place. If you have people who are high school age, not sure what they want to do, Hayek is the kind of place that can allow them to, find different career paths and stuff like that. So let me just show you Hayek. Hayek's been on our show a couple times. Here's when we went on location to find out about them.
Yeah, but whatever works. Yeah.
Because you're going to talk about the Career Center, right? And you're going to talk about, so you came here in grade 8, is that what you said?
Yeah, I did come here in grade 8
okay.
a long time ago.
Bruce just finished his 5 years of grade 8 last year, didn't he?
Still in grade 8. 54 years old. When I graduate, it's going to be trouble.
Okay, 1 second. Alright, so I'll start on a single you and then you can introduce them, alright? So I am...
What's your official title?
Program instructor.
Program
Sorry,
instructor.
just 1 second. I can back focus my camera.
He's really watching Netflix.
Yeah, I've got it inside.
I figured this out after a few weeks. He makes it look good. I'll give him that. He's never going to invite me back. He's already got an appointment with Stu. Get rid of this guy. He's not our next host. All right, so that was some on-site stuff. You can go to the Inspiring Youth show to see the rest of that. So those are the people that have inspired me. And I just want to give a shout out. We got some people on here. I want to big shout out to Annetta Biggs who came on, Carlene, Monique. We've got Carmen on from the other end, so that's great. So great to see everybody on. Thank you for coming out and joining us. We are just going through the last hour here. So those are people I'm hoping to inspire and community partners that can inspire them. But there's one person that inspired me. So for those of you who don't know, my heritage is from Guyana. I was born here in Canada, but my grandparents are from Guyana. My parents are from Guyana. They moved up here the year before I was born. On my mother's side are all the authors. So my grandfather's a famous poet in Guyana. And on the my dad's side are all the artists. A number of my aunts, my grandmother, they were all artists. But one of the person that has inspired me the most is my grandfather, A.J. Seymour. And unfortunately, when people, when you learn about people, you don't realize the inspiration you have. This is the thing about inspiring people. You don't know what you don't know, right? Like, I don't know who I'm inspiring, and I don't know, you don't realize who's inspired you. But one of them was A.J. Seymour. And for my 100th episode of the podcast, I had him on. And he wasn't on, of course, because he died in 1989. But my aunts and my uncle were on to talk about A.J. Seymour, my grandfather. what was he's a famous poet now. In fact, he's taught in the university up here. We'll get to that in a minute. But what was he like? What was he like as a father? Be careful how you answer this. What was he like, what was he like as a father? Because we all know him as the poet, but what was he like as a father?
I would say that he was a little strict. His main points to us were about the importance of education, reading and writing. If you were reading a book and you were called by mommy or him to do something, you could say, "Oh, I'm reading," and then you didn't have to go and do whatever it was.
Well, I think that's the girls got off on. There was no reprieve for the boys. I mean, when floors had to be polished, they had to be polished. Didn't matter what you were reading.
Oh. Podcasts would have worked back then. So just to clarify for everybody, so there's 6 children. There's Anne and JT, and then yourselves, and then my mom and Philip.
Right.
Oh, and you two are the middle child there. So, so did he make you guys get into writing and poetry? Did he have that influence? It was about education. Did it matter the type of education, or did it have to be, was it focused on literature in English?
No, I don't think that it was focused on literature, but you knew what he was writing and doing. Every Thursday night, he had this poetry group that met at the house, and all these now famous authors would come and they would read their poems to each other, and they would be served soft drinks. My father was not into alcohol, so there was no rum served there, so some of the poets weren't too happy at that, but they would soft drinks and they would talk for like 2 hours. So we knew that this was like a major thing interested in.
Yes. Yeah. I thought it was funny that he took accounting from what I was reading. He was taking, so I'm going, okay, I didn't know about that one. So
Well, did you know that he won a prize for the fastest shorthand writer?
No, because actually in his book, he that might have been later, but in his book he put down shorthand to go to poetry because he didn't feel he was good enough at writing short stories. That's what he was. Or the shorthand is another thing that he was doing. Where it was
shorthand is this thing, what I don't know what it would be the equivalent of today.
Note taking.
Right. But it's there were 2 different types.
Okay.
He got a prize for being the one who could write it the fastest.
Oh.
He took typing as well, so that he had options.
What was that, guys?
I said it's a whole other language.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You have to be fast to do that, which is not one of my. I still type with 2 fingers. I write every day, but I type with 2 fingers.
Wow.
I am wishing I had taken typing in school. Some of these courses that seemed like really, like computers, those people, I don't know why they're spending their time on that. Well, they're laughing at us today. So that's, So tell us about his environment. I know when I was there, I don't know if I remember his study. He must have had an office or a study. He didn't write at the kitchen table, I'm sure, right? What was like?
No. Yeah, he had an office. He had his own office, his own library.
Right.
That he wrote in, and had lots and lots and lots of his books.
Yeah, so that must have been closed off. Did you ever see him? Like the amount of poetry he put out, you guys must never have seen him if he's spending.
No, Bruce, I have to say this. We did see him, but Daddy's theme in everything was, you want to do something, you want to do it badly enough, you get up 15 minutes earlier and you do that thing. You do it when you're fresh. You don't wait 15 minutes at the end of the day. You get up 15 minutes earlier and you do it. And that's what he did when he learned to write italic. His handwriting was so bad, his secretary said, Mr. I cannot type because I don't understand what you've written. So he learned italic, but that was getting up 15 minutes early every morning and practicing doing it.
Wow.
So,
and then when he taught us italic, he did the same thing. We'd get up a few minutes early every day and write with Daddy.
Yeah.
That's how we learned to write italic.
And that's in most entrepreneur environments, that's what they tell you to get ahead. And I actually do the same thing. My schedule is when I wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, that first hour is writing. That's when I get my articles out. I write every morning at that time, and then I go to the gym, and then I come back. So I don't get into my customer emails until 10 o'clock in the morning. And that the first part of that day is always my stuff first, and then the customer stuff. And that's what they say. So he was doing that way back.
He was.
That's amazing. All right. So that's my grandfather here. If this is his book, we sell it up here as well. It's all poetry, but he's been a big inspiration to me. So that's really good. So, hey, we're almost done. I know everybody's probably going, you know what, Bruce, this one's a bit longer because I told you we're going to go right through. So I've just got to share one more story with you. I've got to share, and then we're going to do the draw. I got to talk about a guy named Thomas Wade. So Thomas has been on my podcast many times. He's a friend of mine for 20 years, for over 20 years. Back when I was in my 20s, we used to follow him around. He was part of a band. Some other friends of mine, we used to follow them around in the Kitchener area. And Thomas was very successful. The whole band was at that, I think it's the Juno Awards. They were at that level where they were actually nominated for Juno Awards. And then something happened. The band started to break up, and then Thomas lost his voice. And Thomas was my very first guest on this podcast when we started back in 2016. He's been on every year. He was just on about a month ago because we were talking about his book, Singing in My Sleep. But Thomas lost his voice. Now, some of the songs he's written are for people like Celine Dion. So he's very, very talented. He's been on stage since he was 4 years old, and he lost his voice. He lost it for about 7 years, and the doctor said that there was no... I forget, well, he'll tell you about it here. I'm going to play his interview here in a minute. But the disease he has, there was no cure. And so can you imagine being a singer your whole life and all of a sudden you lose your voice and you can't get it back? And Thomas found through hypnosis and through a lot of research and study, he was able to get his voice back. And I just want to play you this short piece from Thomas's interview because it's very inspiring. Everybody up to speed. I mean, I'm going to urge people to go back and listen to the other episodes, but give us the highlights. Bring us up to speed as to what caused you to write the book. Like, because you had an illness, which was really, you don't have to go into every detail. Save that for the book. That's where they're going to go into the book. But you give us a couple of the highlights so that at least brings people up to what we're talking about with the book.
Right. It'd be like in the movie, right? I'll just drive myself to the edge of the cliff.
And stop right there. I'll stop the video right there.
Yeah. If you want the rest, you got to get a pocketbook.
Does he live or not? Well, I guess we better do that before this podcast comes out because they'll know you lived because you were on it. So.
Yes. No, I'm a Thomas Wade impersonator. Thomas is not with us anymore.
We should get Denise to fly right in on the mic right now and say, well.
Yeah, well, we had him stuffed and stuck in the corner. But anyway, let me try to be more elegant than that. So
prop him up against the jukebox, just like Joe Diffie would say.
Yeah. Just put a drink in my hand there, folks.
That's how I'm going. I don't know.
Yeah, pour some alcohol on it.
So back to your story, which I think is where we started. We're going way down another path that probably won't help us.
This is the story. So I was a recording artist. I've been a musician my whole life, obviously. I was in a band, started touring. My family band, Silver Wings, have been doing that. I did that for like 11 years. Then I went and had a band called Wayward, which was Marie Bottrell's backup band. And we toured and all that stuff. And then much later, we joined up again as a band called Wayward and began to, I'd been writing and going down to Nashville, and we ended up recording. And the record came out. It was Thomas Wade and Wayward. Did extremely well. First single was top 15. Right away, I'd already been busy as a musician full time, but now it was on 11. We're always working and always had songs on the radio and won a lot of awards. And You know, we basically 2 years in a row we swept the independent awards, independent single song and group of the year both years. Yep. And then by the end of 2001, I had put out another record and was quite hopeful for that. And all of a sudden, I was on stage in Saskatchewan and doing a show, and all of a sudden, my voice it didn't work. I had this sound come out of my throat that I could not control and I couldn't explain. So that really sucked because I had 4 more shows to go. So I did that, and I was terrified. You know, I can't even tell you how terrified I was. And I came home and started going around to doctors trying to find out what was wrong, and nobody could tell me anything. So basically, after another year of trying, I had to retire as a singer. Yep. And then I started being, working, producing other people and promoting other acts and that kind of thing. And then by 2004, I was producing other people, but I was starting to notice certain vowels were really hard to say. Yep. I couldn't understand that. It was really strange. And by 2005, I could barely speak. Wow. And in 2006, I was finally diagnosed with something called oromandibular dystonia.
I'm glad you said that and I didn't. Because I couldn't say that twice.
Yeah, well, just imagine me trying to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. I might be the one with the speech impediment after I try saying that word. I don't know if I can, so.
Yeah. Well, it was like, why didn't they just call it she-shell, seashell?
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, I was diagnosed on my birthday, 2006. And then, I recall them giving me the moniker, and it's like, okay, I don't really care about that. Yeah. Now what? And there is no now what. It was incurable. So I spent the next bunch of years like that. By 2009, I went through a period of 2007 where it kind of had the upswing a little bit. Felt like it wasn't as bad. Yep. But then by 2008, 2009, I could barely start a sentence. Right. So, and around that time, I happened to be listening to the CBC, and I heard about neuroplasticity and about experiments and research being done in which they were healing stroke victims. Okay. And I thought, all right, I don't care what anybody says. If you can heal a stroke victim, I can heal. Right. So I went out and I learned everything I could, and I started sort of MacGyvering my brain, really, and rebuilding myself. And partway through the process, I got my voice and my speech back, and that in itself has been a really long process. I'd like to say that, if you happen to be in a wheelchair for 10 years, you're not going to pop out of that chair and do Swan Lake. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Right. If you can walk to the front door, you're doing well. And for a long time, that's what my voice was like. Right. Until, 2005-ish, 2015-ish, 2016-ish, I recorded a new album, which said, okay, I'll call myself a singer now. Yep.
So that was the famous Thomas Wade, and I'm just going to play you so you can hear what Thomas sounds like now. This is if it comes on, it should be coming on now. This is Thomas's song, "Am I That Easy to Forget?" I'm just going to check that it's on here.
They say you found somebody new, but that won't stop my love.
Big shout out to people who have joined us: Glenn Caldwell, Carlene.
How
Glenn,
can I let
Mark
you
Lovett,
walk away?
I think Monique was
forget the love I had for you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Guess
and we are going to now do the big draw. I know this is what you're waiting around for. This is the reason you came back in from the sunshine. Hopefully we got everybody on. If you made a comment and you're on, if we got people who went into the list, did we get everybody? Are we sure? No, that's not a good sign. When you say no, that's not a good sign at all. We just want to say thank you while she's just getting this last list together, getting the last people on. thank you everybody for joining us. We've been on, it's hard to believe we've been on since 1 o'clock this afternoon. And I know some of you are also on my art thing. So tomorrow, Monday, I'm starting the art lessons up. Again, we're doing 2 more for the kids during the pandemic. We did it March, April. We took a break for a couple of weeks because I was busy, and now we're doing a couple more. So Monday at 4, it's going to be changed from 3 to 4. We'll be doing art lessons for the kids. So feel free to join us. You can go to Bruce Outridge Productions to sign up for that, or just let us know or whatever. Have we got it? How we doing?
I don't know. It's like on the slow mode.
We've used too much bandwidth playing Thomas.
I don't know.
So let me talk about the prize. So this is the prize. We are giving away a Kindle e-reader. We are giving away a Kindle edition of You're Not Done Yet. And we're giving you Thomas's book, which is called Singing in My Sleep. We're going to give you a digital version of that. This is the Amazon launch. Because all of the stuff is on Amazon, so all the gift cards we've been giving away and stuff that we've given away today has all been on Amazon. And then we are going to also be doing this again probably in about a month or so with Apple and also audio. Did you do it already?
I just did it.
Really?
I just did it. Finally did.
All right, so do you want to show them the winner, or should I?
You show them the winner.
Well, I think they can see. Just show it to them.
So
the winner is Carlene Bland. Carlene, yay! Carlene's going, why did I buy that book in hour 1 is what Carlene's saying. Carlene, thank you so much. Congratulations. Everybody, we just want to say thank you. You guys have been absolutely amazing. To be honest with you, like I said, we planned this probably about a month ago. I just picked May 16th. I didn't realize it was a long weekend, but then I also figured we were in lockdown, so I figured nobody's going. I didn't realize it would be the one nice day that we have for the weekend. So I know a lot of you are probably out and about, but I know so many of you have been here from hour 1. And if you came in late and you haven't been here, please go back to Cashing In on Creativity Podcast on the Facebook page. You can listen, because we've been having interviews like the ones you just saw here. We've been talking about the book. We've been having different people on. We've been doing different draws. So you can see it all at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. We started this one at 4, and here we are at 10 to 5. So, Carlene, congratulations. We're going to send you all this. Thank you, everybody. Please feel free to share. We're keeping the prices low. We've got the ebook down at $2.99 and the paperback down at $9.99. If you want a personalized signed copy, send an email to info@bruceoutridgeproductions.com, and Carmen will take care of that, and we'll get you a signed copy. But thank you so much for helping us launch the book. This was it was a ton of fun, right? We're gonna go. Are we going to get like drunk now or what?
Yeah. I'm ready now.
Yeah, it's been 4 hours of her listening to me talk. She wants me to go to sleep. She would send me out, but there's nowhere to go. So anyway, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You all rock, and we really love having you on. And we'll take this one out with Thomas Wade. Thank you again for an awesome, awesome time. We hope you enjoyed that. We tried to make it fun for you, and we hope that you enjoy this. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now. Thanks
They
for
say you
supporting the
found
cause.
somebody new.